Welcome to Lizards of the Toast. And here we have our Golgari apparatus here. It's Grist's toolbox, if you will, the Golgari Soul Trader combo deck. But ours is a lot different than the ones you're seeing there, because ours works to control using creatures as spells more than using spells to control. And I'll show you how that is. So let's get right into the main deck to our creature base here. All right, there we go. All right, so we have Stitcher's Supplier. When Stitcher's Supplier comes into the battlefield or dies, you mill 3 cards. So that is going to fill that toolbox for us. So immediately this is going to show a weakness that this deck has is Graveyard Hate. We got to really fight against that, and I will show you how we do that in the sideboard. So Stitcher's Supplier, we're running 4 of those to fill the graveyard. In Gravecrawler being a combo piece in the Soul Trader combo, of course, we are running 1, 2, 3, 4. And as a refresher to anybody that doesn't know, the old Gravecrawler here cannot block, but it is a 2-1 for 1, which is good. And talk about value, listen to this. You can cast Gravecrawler from your graveyard as long as you control a zombie. And we will be controlling mostly zombies. But speaking of mostly zombies, this fellow is not. This is the Zulaport Cutthroat, and this is a one-of in the deck. Did anybody tune in for the Mardu version of this? You see we were running that zombie card? It was white and a black. The Wanderer or something. Not Dread Wanderer, a Cursed Marauder, something like that. No, it wasn't that either. It was something. It was like an Amonkhet black zombie in Orzhov colors. Anyways, it kind of did what this did, so I like this a little bit better. So when it dies or another creature you control dies, each opponent loses 1 life and we gain 1 life. This will help our combo to a degree by adding this effect where we're doing our combo for free. So we will explain the Soul Trader combo. We'll keep a few cards here on the side. So at the end of our main deck, we will talk about the Soul Trader combo. So we have a Cursed Marauder here. Now this is some wonderful removal for us. When a Cursed Marauder enters the battlefield, each player sacrifices a non-token creature. So we are constantly recurring things. We don't mind to sacrifice this. Basically, this is a 1 and a black to get an opponent to get rid of a card. Sacrifice a creature on the battlefield, which is going to be hopefully a good one. So we'll use this sparingly. We'll have 1 of these and 2 of these in the main deck for that removal, but can be sideboarded. Now, Orcish Bowmasters. Oh my goodness, the boogeyman. Not a zombie. It has flash. Commander doesn't care. When Orcish Bowmasters enters the battlefield, whenever an opponent draws a card except the first one they draw on each of their draw steps, Orcish Bowmasters deals 1 damage to any target. Then amass Orcs 1. So, 1, a 2, a 3. 3? Yes, 3. And sometimes we sideboard one of these because I think the deck needs this to play the control aspect, but it never hurts to sideboard one for different matchups. So the Mario Apprentice. My hair is starting to look like this, by the way, but a lot more frizzy. So Fabricate 1. We can put a 1/1 counter on this, or we can create a Servo Artifact token. Whenever another creature or artifact you control is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, each opponent loses 1 life. So there's a piece of our combo for that Soul Trader combo. Now that is not necessarily essential to win in this deck, but we're running 4 Mario Apprentices. Now a lot of these decks run heavy Bogarts, and I do not, because the Bogart Trawler can be a dead drop to us if we don't need the land, and it's a waste of 3 mana. I mean, it's good, but I think 1 of these is what we want with the way we do this deck, because it's different than the way others do it. So 1 Bogart Trawler enters the battlefield, exile target player's graveyard. That's good. Or it can be a land that enters tapped unless we pay 3 life, and it's just a black producer. You guys know what that does. So here's a Warren Soul Trader. Isn't she beautiful? Isn't she lovely? Look at that. Pay 1 life, sacrifice another creature, create a treasure token. So since we're at Warren Soul Trader, we have 4 of her, of course, because she's so important to what we're doing here. And then we have a 1-of Geralf's Messenger. Enters the battlefield tapped. Ooh. When Geralf's Messenger enters the battlefield, target opponent loses 2 life. and it has Undying. When this creature dies, if it had no 1/1 counters on it, return it to the battlefield under its owner's control with a 1/1 counter on it. We can sacrifice it. We can bring it back. We can constantly do that 2 damage. That's really, really powerful. Quite a mean thing, but it's a good zombie. It's a big beater to have around, so it's very good. Now here is something interesting. You guys are gonna be like, "What? That's not a zombie. That's a cowboy hatchet man there. That's a cowboy swindler." So Honest Rutstein, no questions, no refunds. When Honest Rutstein enters the battlefield, return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Creature spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. So that is really good for us. He's 3. The creature spells cost 1 less to cast is really good. That return the graveyard to the hand, that's good too. I really see no reason. It doesn't hurt to run a 1/of the Rutstein, in my opinion. It's really got me going because just running the 1/of when I get him in my hand, get him on the battlefield, it allows us to really flood the board with our creatures that are 1 or 2 mana, like the Bowmasters for 1 black mana. Turn 4, bring him in then. If you get 1 in the hand or so, it's very good. So Rutstein, my boy, there he goes. Oh, look at the big feet on that guy. Look at the big feet on the squirrel. Look at the little hands. Oh my goodness, look at his buddies there in the background. So cute, so cute. I love the Chatterfang. All right, has Forest Walk, not getting over forests. Or rather, gets over forests, but people with forests are not getting one over on the Chatterfang. If 1 or more tokens would be created under your control, we're going to make some tokens. Those tokens plus that many 1/1 green squirrel creature tokens are created instead. That's kind of nice. Okay, we can pay a black, sacrifice X squirrels. Target creature gets +X, -X until end of turn. So, this ability here, we have 1 Chatterfang because getting those extra tokens is really good because that can be mana. Those sack outlets, very good for us. Not that there's sack outlets for our zombie marauder, but this here as well, to take out target creature by sacrificing squirrels is very good. And there's a few other fun things we can do with Chatterfang as well. So there we go. Chatterfang in his place there. And we have 6. I'm sorry. We have 5. I'm just kidding. It's 6. So has reach. Whenever 6 attacks, mill 3 cards. Very important for us. You may put a land card from among them into your hand. Very, very important. As long as it's your turn, non-land permanent cards in your graveyard have retrace. Excellent, excellent, excellent. So if nobody knows what retrace is, that means that you discard a land card in addition to paying that card's other costs. So that's really good. I like the retrace. It's awesome. But there's a 1/of in here, and we want that because mill 3 cards, you may put a land card from among them into your hand. That's really good because our other mill outlet does not allow us to put land cards into our hands. But with this, we can do that. So that's very good for us. So if we mill a land card with 6, we can put it into our hand. Now, here's our Planeswalker. Grist the Hunger Tide, from which the deck gets its namesake. So, this is really cool, but as long as Grist the Hunger Tide isn't on the battlefield, it's a 1/1 insect creature in addition to its other types. So we can unearth Grist for 1 black, and we have our Planeswalker out. Now, sometimes we run these other 2 Grists we have in the sideboard, and we'll talk about that too. But if we +1 Grist, we create a 1/1 black and green insect creature token, then we mill a card. If an insect card was milled this way, put a loyalty counter on Grist and repeat the process. Honestly, when I had taken the other Grist from the sideboard and put it in here, that happened. So it was pretty cool to be able to get the extra +1. Not always going to happen, even though there is 3 Grists, insect creatures rather, in the deck. Not going to happen much. But what we really want here is -2, you may sacrifice a creature. When you do, destroy target creature or planeswalker. So sacrificing doesn't hurt us, does not bother us, but it's going to really bother them, especially if they have one of those new planeswalkers out that can be very problematic to certain plans that we're going for. So, -5, can it happen? Yes. if we did it at the right time, it'd be wonderful. So each opponent loses life equal to the number of creature cards in the graveyard. Have I done this to someone? I have. I have done this in gameplay, and it's really satisfying. And it was actually the game where I milled the other grist and got to put the extra counter on. And it was just quite wonderful, I gotta say, because there was, I think, like 7 or 8 creatures in the graveyard. And that kind of closed out the game at that point. But not necessarily relying on it, but it's a toolbox planeswalker unique to the deck because it's a 1/1 insect creature as long as it's not on the battlefield. Now, let's talk about these instants we have here. We have 3 instants in the main deck. We have Flare of Malice. Look at that mana cost. Do we ever pay that? We don't. You may sacrifice a non-token black creature rather than pay the spell's mana cost. Each opponent sacrifices a creature or planeswalker with the greatest mana value among creatures and planeswalkers they control. I cannot stress how important this card is because, look at that. Each opponent sacrifices a creature or planeswalker with the greatest mana value among creatures and planeswalkers they control. So think of what that can be. That can be Karn. That can be Lily, okay? But in the creature department, that can be Murktide. That can be Flage. Using this properly. So we have 3 of these. We played with 4, but it was just too much. And sometimes 1 can make its way into the sideboard. No problem there. Oh. Well, we're almost to the mana base. Let me just get some things together. Over here. All right. Perfect. There we go. All right. Onward and forward. We're going to take a look at these sorceries. All right. Who's that enchantment? It's a Chthonian Nightmare. Do you think it's like a Chthonian Nightmare or if it's a Cthulian Nightmare? Maybe it's Cthulian, but who can say? So unearth. Lots of targets here. In fact, all of our cards are targets except our non-creature cards, of course. Choose target creature card in the graveyard with total casting cost 3 or less. Put that creature into play. Pardon me. Cycling 2. Pay 2, discard this card from your hand to draw a card. Play that ability as an instant. Very cool. 4 of those. 1 can make its way into the sideboard. Now, no other deck is playing this card. Okay? I'm not saying play a play set of these. I'm saying play just 1. But this, okay, let's say we have a good hand, but the mill strategy doesn't do us any favors. We have Life from the Loam. It's 1 and a green. Return up to 3 target land cards from your graveyard to your hand. So if we've milled land, if we've fetched and we have fetch lands in the graveyard, return up to 3 target lands. So that can put us right where we need to be. And we have Dredge 3. So instead of drawing, put exactly 3 cards from the top of your library into your graveyard. That's good for us. We don't mind doing that. And if we do, return this card from your graveyard to your hand, otherwise draw a card. So, with that Dredge, if we've milled this into the graveyard, we can get it back into our hands to guarantee land in our hands. Now, do you see where I'm going with this? This is a control deck at its little graveyard heart. Because we are planning on, if we need those lands later on. This is not a deck that's saying, hey, all we want to do is combo here. We have Birthing Ritual here as our first enchantment in the mix. Now, I love this artwork. Look at how cute. You know what? I'm going to go ahead. Whoops, sorry. I'm going to go ahead and say, look at how cute right there. Okay? And let's just travel with me here. It's cute right there. And, oh, heck, man. It's cute. It's cute the whole dang ritual there. The whole way. I like it every way. It's a big, I don't know what it is, but I like it. It looks like a lemur, bear, sloth, bull, warthog, snake, bear, wizard man thing. Anyways, at the beginning of our end step, if we control a creature, look at the top 7 cards of the library. Then you may sacrifice a creature. If you do, you may put a creature card with mana value X or less from among those cards onto the battlefield, where X is 1 plus the sacrificed creature's mana value. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So, that's good for us because we can sacrifice something, get into the graveyard, but it's super good for us because we can get what we need into our hand and decide what it is, and that other stuff goes into the bottom of the library. And because we're fetching, what's cool is we'll be moving that stuff around anyways. 1 and 2. A lot of people run 3. We just run 2. All right. Oh, this was supposed to be in the sorceries. We're running a 1-of Agadeem's Awakening. Return from your graveyard to the battlefield any number of target creature cards that each have a converted mana or a different converted mana cost X or less. So if we play this for 6, we're going to be very happy. Is it always necessary? No. In fact, I've not done that with this yet, I don't think. I haven't. I played it for 5 and brought some stuff. But that being said, if we can play it for 6, we're going to be pretty happy. But most of the time, it's just a land. But it has that utility that we like so well. So Chthonian Nightmare is 1 and a black. When it enters the battlefield, we get energy tokens. It's powdered sugar, powerful, baby. Woo! Anyways, we get that energy. We can pay X energy, sacrifice a creature, return Chthonian Nightmare to its owner's hand, return target creature card with mana value X from your graveyard to the battlefield, activate as a sorcery. Just fine. So this is bouncing back to our hand. We're running 3, and 1 can end up in the sideboard sometime. So let's talk about mana base. Mana base. Do. Yeah. All right, let me make sure I got this. Okay. Anyways. Okay. You don't belong there. We got to get this nice for you guys. You guys don't deserve this. Okay. Anyways. Before I show you the mana base, maybe what I could do is hold up the program here and perhaps explain that combo real quick. All right, bang, boom, 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 and all right. So there we go. Let's go ahead and do it. So basically, here's what you do. This is the best case scenario. Turn 1, Gravecrawler. All right. Turn 2, Mario's Apprentice. But hold on. There is more. Let's say we have milled from having played the Stitcher's Supplier. So as early as turn 2, we can get our Soul Trader out via Unearth. So if we have a Soul Trader out, we played an Unearth. So that leaves us 1 mana. We play the Gravecrawler. Now, we can get mana from the Gravecrawler, and if we have the Stitcher's Supplier out as well, we can get mana from that. So we'll sacrifice these 2, get 2, and we can go ahead and play the Marionette Apprentice on turn 2. We're still on turn 2, you with me? So we're using those 2 treasure tokens, and we're going to fabricate 1. We're going to go ahead and create, get ready for this, the servo. So we create our servo. And we're going to sacrifice our servo and create another treasure counter. Turn 2, we're going to use that to bring back Gravecrawler. Then we're going to sacrifice Gravecrawler, create a treasure. So a creature is put into the graveyard from the battlefield. The opponent loses a life. But we're going to lose a life as well. But they're going to lose 2 for every 1 life we are losing. So there it is, just to let you guys know. And with Zulaport Cutthroat, you can get a similar thing going. And this is a really nice card, too, if you've lost a lot of life and you're worried about it that way. And honestly, it's just good to have on the board when you're sacrificing so much stuff. Getting that extra life is not a bad thing. Which is why I'm still tweaking the sideboard just a little bit. Thinking maybe there's justification for maybe just 1 more Zulaport in here. Anyways, let's talk about that mana base. So, I didn't go to town on the mana base. Just because we don't need much mana and there's a lot of options for us. So we are running 7 fetch lands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They all get black. That's what we're worried about. These ones get black and green, black and white, yada, 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 right? So let's get them fetchable vegetables. All right. So for our fetchables, we have 1, 2, 3. So 1 of these, just in case we get Blood Moon, because we live in Blood Moon country. And then 2 black in case we get Blood Moon, which we will be blocked from doing certain things. But I found that we don't need to run 3 black, because if we do get Blood Mooned anyways, chances are if we need 3 black, we are going to have a treasure token anyways. This is the important one that we have the 1 of. Overgrown Tomb, Underground Mortuary, Overgrown Tomb. Boop, boop, boop. Very nice. Now, we have 1 Phyrexian Tower, because it's going to help us sacrifice a creature. We're going to get 2 black, and really that extra mana can really push us forward. Spymaster's Vault. Enters the battlefield tapped unless you control a swamp. We're going to be controlling plenty. Tap and add a black. You can pay 1 black. Tap. Target creature you control connives X, where X is the number of creatures that died this turn. So, we can sack a few times. So let's say we just got, like, we have our... There. Let's say we have this on the battlefield, right? So, we can go ahead and start doing our sacrificing and bringing back, because we don't have our Marionette Apprentice that we want. But Spymaster's Vault, we're going to do that. And how many creatures died this turn? We kept casting and killing. So we can do that a few times and draw X cards, then discard X cards. Put a 1/1 counter on that creature for each non-land card discarded this way. We'll put those onto the Warren Soul Trader and have a giant Soul Trader. And also, hopefully, we will have done something to get us the pieces we may need to pull off the combo, like the Mario Apprentice or the Zulaport Cutthroat. And like I said, I am just really feeling 1 more Zulaport. Just 2 Zulaports could be a very good thing. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Underground Mortuary is definitely great. Especially if you fetch on turn 1, it's like freebie. Because depending on what you have in your hand, especially if you don't have a 1-drop that you want to play, fetch that on turn 1 and you get to scry or surveil. That's super good, because a lot of times that surveilling is going to let you know whether you should, on your next turn, maybe play Stitcher's Supplier or something else. Now let's talk about the sideboard, my friends. All right. What is in the sideboard? What would I like to be in the sideboard? Well, I think I kind of got... This is why I tell you, this is Grist's Golgari Apparatus, because Grist is important. It's unique in the deck. Not necessarily a win condition, per se, but I love the things that you can use Grist for. Certainly cool. So there's Grist. He's our enchantment planeswalker, yada yada, non-creature. So our other 2 non-creature spells, we have Thoughtseize the Sorcery. Target player reveals their hand. You choose a non-land card from it. That player discards that card. You lose 2 life. So a lot of times we'll put that in and use it on our opponent. But sometimes, like let's say you have a little mana situation. You got this in your hand. You got to play the Soul Trader, but you don't have the 3 mana for it. You can always Thoughtseize yourself and then unearth the Soul Trader. And that'll be 2 mana, so you're going to save a little bit of mana. And kind of giving like that value will give like a Rutstein-esque effect. So 2 Thoughtseizes. Again, I feel like I could put 1 more in here. Still chewing it over. Now here's our other little Grist. Oh, look at that cute little larva. Isn't that cute? Wouldn't you just like to wake up with that like on your chest staring at you? All right, so anyways, we've got an insect. It's 1 green. It's 1/2. Whenever the voracious larva or another creature enters the battlefield under your control, if it entered from your graveyard or you cast it from your graveyard, you may pay 1 green. If you do, exile Grist, then return it to the battlefield transformed under its owner's control. So, the Plague Swarm. +1 it, create a 1/1 black and green insect creature tokens. Then mill 2 cards, put a death counter on this token if a black card was milled this way. So that death touch counter is probably going to go on there. We can -2, destroy target artifact or enchantment. So this is a creature that if we play our cards right, for 2 mana, we can destroy target artifact or enchantment. Generally, unless we have like if we have a Chthonian Nightmare turn 2, that's a good way to play this out of the graveyard for that energy cost. And right here, the -6, for each creature card in your graveyard, create a token as a copy of it, except it's a 1/1 black and green insect. Never did that before. I don't see that one being like something that'll be utilized. This is just a very good and like kind of like I know when I've destroyed enchantments with this and artifacts that the opponent did not see it coming when I played it out of the graveyard. Oops, I don't want to put those there. Get over here. Okay. Anyways, we have 2 fatal pushes, a couple of instants there just for some more creature removal. Target creature if it has converted mana cost 2 or less, but has revolt. That's very important for us. Destroy that creature if it has converted mana cost 4 or less. Instead of a permanent you controlled left the battlefield this turn. Between fetch lands and sacrifices, it's going to happen. 2 of those. Now, here we go. I think mostly creatures from here on out. Haywire Might. So, this is again the one weakness we have. If we are playing against something in white, we're generally going to really amp up this kind of enchantment hate, just so we don't get our graveyard frozen out. So when Haywire Might dies, you gain 2 life. Pay 1 green, sacrifice Haywire Might, exile target non-creature, artifact, or enchantment. So not only are we gaining life, this card is such a wonderful toolbox card. And here we have the oof. Look at there, that's me. Anyways, activated abilities of artifacts can't be activated. We don't care about that. We don't care about artifacts. Unless it's Haywire Might. But pretty much we are going to be using this so smartly that it never interacts with Haywire Might anyways. And this thing, I think, is like a wonderful and annoying piece in this deck because you can always bring it back with your Unearth stuff. We have Reclamation Sage. When it enters the battlefield, you may destroy target artifact or enchantment. Chances are it's going to be milled into our graveyard. Bring it back. We have Fulminator Mage. This is kind of a dirty card in this deck because you can bring it back so readily. And so many non-basic lands in this format. So, excuse me. 1, a 2, a 3 Fulminator Mages. So sacrifice it, destroy that non-basic land, bring it back with something and do it again. And what's cool about this too, no tap ability necessary. So you could essentially play this for 2 mana out of your graveyard, sacrifice it, and then use the remaining black mana to bring it back from Unearth, sacrifice it again, and remove 2 lands from target opponent. So very cool. Honestly, like I used to play these a while back, like right before Modern Horizons 2, I was playing these in 8-rack. So we have Graveyard Trespasser. Ward, discard a card. So that's pretty good. Just speaking of 8-rack, that's pretty cool because nobody's going to want to do that against 8-rack, but this card doesn't work in there. I kind of tried it. Whenever Graveyard Trespasser enters the battlefield or attacks, exile up to 1 target card from a graveyard. If a creature card was exiled this way, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. So, we're going to have a lot of cards in our graveyard. If we're playing against some kind of snappy burn aggro, this is going to be a good card for us because, again, we can bring it out turn 2 usually. Stitcher's Supplier, turn 1. This ends up in the graveyard. We can sack our Stitcher's Supplier, 3 more. Maybe it ends up in the graveyard. If we have an Unearth spell, we can get that out again. Now, 1 of Force of Despair. If it's not your turn, you may exile a black card from your hand rather than pay this spell's mana cost. Destroy all creatures that entered the battlefield this turn. Nadu was banned, but the Ocelot was not banned, and there's still reason to destroy cards that your opponent has enter the battlefield, have creatures destroy that enter the battlefield this turn. And there's an Orc Army. But that's it. So, I don't see it changing much because playing it, this is the strongest version I've come across in my playing, and I'm just enjoying the heck out of it. So, I will leave down below a link to Moxfield where you can check it out yourselves. And I think we're going to have a match coming up on Friday where 8-rack is taking this on. So that should be interesting. Very interesting, yeah. Because I think I don't mind if 8-Rack is putting things in the graveyard, right? But you never know, because if the wrong things get put in the graveyard, very bad. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you guys on the next one. And I'll keep you guys updated on any changes. You can always check Moxfield to see what kind of changes happen. In fact, I think this has changed just a hair since I last updated it, so I'll have to get on that. You guys have a good one, and I will see you on the next one.